Good evening, Brisbane, and welcome to your only locally produced technology radio show. This is TechNut with the Tech News Hour. On tonight's program, Fortnite Season 2 goes out with a bang, a zero-day exploit to watch out for, some good cheap mobile phones, Intel's GPUs available, sort of, and the iPad grows up. All that and more with the Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. The Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. Be careful opening Word documents or attachments from unexpected emails. A new zero-day exploit called Felina was released on the 27th of May. The exploit works by the document being sent as a rich text file as opposed to a .doc file. It uses the help and support feature in Word to open a URL that then downloads malicious code onto your computer. A fix is available. Search Google for Felina unofficial registry patch and follow the link that takes you to bleepingcomputer.com. Also, if you want to learn more about how the exploit actually works, visit the YouTube channel Dave's Garage. Dave was a software developer for Microsoft back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and his recent video outlines how the exploit works and also provides a manual method to protect yourself. However, this fix involves going into your system's registry, so you may not want to do the manual method. However, it's handy to know what the change actually does, and doing so shouldn't affect any operation of Word in general, but it is one level of protection to help you out. At the moment, no official patch has been released, though I'd expect one to be out soon. The Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. So the long-awaited Intel Arc GPU is finally released, albeit just in laptops at the moment. It's been spotted in a HP model in the US, a HP Envy laptop with an i5 12500H CPU, Intel Arc A370M graphics with half a terabyte of SSD and 16 gig of DDR5. A similar model by Lenovo called the Lenovo Yoga 7i is also very similarly spec'd with a 16-inch LCD panel, which means it'll be most likely a 16 by 10, similar to what the MacBooks use. However, the price is a little steep. You're looking at about 2,700 Australian for that particular laptop, which is a little bit pricey, but it's for a decent spec laptop, which will keep up pretty well with the Intel M1 Max. This GPU looks like we should see a PCI Express version of it as an add-on card for PC gamers and PC users, which should compete quite well with the AMD 6600 and the RTX 3050. It's due out probably midway through the next quarter. Between July and September, we should start seeing them come out. It'd be good to have a bit more competition in this space anyway, and it looks like these GPUs are quite powerful from what I've seen reports of. Yeah, this is TechNut with the Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. We'll be back in a bit. The Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. Fortnite Season 2 ends with an epic failure. The end of Chapter 3, Season 2, where players were assigned to a giant mecha bear, Battle Mech, to save the island for about the 10th or 11th time. This event has now knocked the game offline, with Season 2's ending ahead of Season 2's debut on Monday, with the end of the game ending with a to-be-continued screen, with a mushroom hinting at the theme for the next season. Wonder what that'll be. Fortnite should be back up by now. However, the patch to enter into Season 3 will need to be downloaded first. So prepare for that mega download. Like other major season releases, Fortnite updates are huge and can strain even top-level NBN broadband services. Mobile data users may want to find a public Wi-Fi to download the update, because it will use a considerable sum of your data. Also knocked offline on the weekend, Nintendo Switch was blocking people from playing games that require server validation, as the eShop had gone down. A downside to having DRM, or digital rights management, in legal games. It's a bane in legal game owners' sides because server-side activation always seems to go down. And when this happens, you're locked out of the games that you have rightfully paid for. It's also why I still have a Blu-ray collection, DVDs, and CDs, even though I subscribe to YouTube Premium with YouTube Music. Sometimes the internet fails, or sometimes the servers go down, and I don't want to be without something to do in the event that happens. So owning content on physical form is sometimes also a really good idea, just as a backup even. This is TechNut with the Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. The Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. From the rumour mill, Apple's expected to make significant changes to iPad with the next software update at its Worldwide Developers Conference, according to people with knowledge of the matter. It is a matter of a push to make the device more laptop-like and less phone-like. See, iPad's stuck with the iPhone OS with a bit added on to make it fit the bigger screen. However, it does limit what it can do when you're into doing multitasking, which is one of its biggest letdowns. The next big software update, iPadOS 16, should have redesigned multitasking interface to make it easier to see what apps are open, switch between apps, and change the size of apps to fit the screen so that you can have more than one beside each other. While it's just a leak or a rumor, the rumor comes from a source which is quite knowledgeable in these things and generally quite correct. iPad and MacBook are generally kept as two separate products, even though internally they're exceptionally similar. Apple still to this date has not added a touch screen to MacBooks. That was based on something that Steve Jobs was against. And the iPad has only just recently got decent mouse support, which is pretty good. You used to be able to use a mouse with the iPad through the accessibility options to allow people to use the mouse in place of using their finger where they had some mobility issue that prevented using the hand to click on things. But now it's getting proper mouse support. On a related note, iPhones can now download the Google TV app, which means they can now directly control Google TV-based smart TVs, which is pretty much all your mid-range smart televisions. So they finally caught up with that one as well. This is TechNut with the Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. The Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. Two decent mid-range phones to add to your comparison list if you're looking for a phone under $400, which might actually be really good. TCL have their 30 Plus model. It has an OLED screen, has NFC for doing Google payments, 4GB of RAM, 128GB of internal storage, as well as having a micro SD card slot so you can upgrade the storage if you want to keep your stuff on the phone as opposed to using a cloud service like Google Drive. You've also got stereo speakers on it. Apparently it's a pretty decent phone, though a little bit pricey. You're looking at about $400 from the local retailers, JB Hi-Fi and Officeworks and the likes. Motorola have a similar spec model, which is their G22. It's only got a mono speaker on the unit, but it does have a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is something I really appreciate, especially if I'm wanting to use the phone to listen to the radio, or if I'm, say, out mowing and things like that, where Bluetooth can be a bit glitchy, especially if streaming audio on Wi-Fi at the same time because they do share a common frequency. But yeah, having the 3.5mm jack's just great. I mean, they can fit it in. The thing's got a decent battery, and yeah, I think 3.5mm needs to come back to everything, but you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, so they're two decent phones. The G22 can be had around about the $250 to $300 mark, which is a pretty good price for a mid-range phone with a decent screen that does pretty much everything that you'd want it to do. Just make sure with these phones, or any phone that you buy, that you generally buy one that's released specifically for the Australian market, because we do have different 5G frequencies compared to other places in the world. So parallel importing or grey importing from the likes of Kogan or something like that can sometimes get you a phone that doesn't have as good reception when you go out of the city. This is TechNut with the Tech News Hour on Switch Brisbane. This is TechNut. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'll catch you here next week, Tuesday 9 p.m. In the meantime, if you want to hear the show again, search Google for TechNut's Switch Brisbane and go to the YouTube channel. All episodes are available there. Have a good night.